Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are well today. I appreciate you guys for joining me in this impromptu live. We're just getting started. I was relaxing, and then I heard the 911 call of Laken Riley, and I said, you know what? I haven't talked about this case, but I have followed it. And I said, you know what? I want to talk about it, because this case, I tried to stay away from this case because this case got really political. But we can't shy away from cases just because they're political, because everybody deserves to be heard. Victims deserve for their cases to get notoriety so that we can learn from it, so that they can get justice, and so that we can also protect people from being further victimized the way that they were victimized. I mean, that's the whole point in covering this terrible news that we typically cover on this channel. Laken Riley, beautiful girl, goes to school in Georgia. She's a nursing student. She's just going out for her morning jog, and there was a monster out there, a predator waiting for her, and his name was Ibarra. Jose Ibarra. And this guy was an illegal alien. Yes, he was illegal. I'm not playing the politics stuff, ladies and gentlemen. There are people who are here for asylum. There are people who are legally here. And then there are illegal people who came in here secretly without announcing themselves, who end up getting caught by our federal government and released on parole for further processing. So when I did my deep dive into this guy, he was not given asylum or anything. He was caught by ICE and he was released on parole for further processing. He did not get a designation. It also come out that this guy is a member of that notorious Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, right? So he sees Laken. He wants to rape Laken. Laken is a warrior. Laken was not going out like that. Laken was not going to be a victim. So you know what Laken did? Laken fought. Laken fought this beast. And because she fought him, he decided to escalate. And he beat her in the head with a rock, crushing her skull, making her almost not recognizable. And then he proceeded to drag her into a wooded area, and, the rest is history. Laken goes missing. She called 911. First of all, we're going to listen to that 911 call. People looked for her. Later on in the day, they found her, and they were able to put the pieces together and find Jose Ibarra. So we're going to listen to the 911 call, which is right behind me, queued up already. And then we're going to watch the body-worn camera of the police coming on scene and then taking Jose into custody. Right now, the case is ongoing. I encourage people to go check the case out, stay up on it, up to date on this one. But this is a very terrible story, and this is a lesson for us to learn, because I think we are going too far in extremes, and this is the problem that I'm seeing as a private citizen in America. We keep going on extremes, extreme left, extreme right, and nobody is thinking sensibly, right? So when we go to the immigration thing, you have people who need help. Obviously, you have people who deserve to have an opportunity to have a great life in America. And then you have people who are not coming here the right way, and we don't know who they are. We don't even know if they're criminals or not. And because of that, we have these really bad people flooding into the country along with people who are in need. That is a middle of the road, sensible way of looking at this. But yet there will still be people who are on the left who will say, oh my God, you can't say that about anybody who walks into this country. And you'll have people on the right who will say, oh my God, everybody must go. When life is never black or white, right or left. Life is nuanced. And until we start accepting the nuance of life, we can never solve these issues. We'll never be able to solve these issues. We'll never be able to be fair and equitable in solving these issues. There are people here who don't deserve to be here, like Jose Ibarra. Jose Ibarra, I don't know if he was going to try and play the asylum game, but America needed asylum from him. We needed asylum from him because he came into our country, and instead of taking advantage of the opportunities that were possibly presented to him, even if he lived as a poor man, living poor in America is a whole lot different than living poor in Venezuela. He had an opportunity, but instead he chose to murder one of the brightest lights of the future of this country, Laken Riley, and she's not coming back, and we demand justice. So I hope to God that there's a death penalty waiting for this man. I doubt it. I don't think Georgia has a death penalty. But I hope that this man never sees the light of day again as a free man. because what he did to her was unforgivable. And we need to stop being so forgivable sometimes in this country. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
A few minutes into her run, and we have some digital data, which we'll talk to you about, which is a Garmin watch that Laken had gotten for Christmas that she's wearing on her run. And this watch captured a lot of important data that you're going to hear about. But she is on her run, and her phone, she activates the emergency function of her iPhone. And you're going to hear about that through testimony of the witnesses who examined her phone. She activates the emergency function of her iPhone, and she attempts to call 911.
Yo, look at this woman. Look at all this she's doing. She's physically fighting this guy, because don't get it twisted. He murdered her, but his intention was to rape her. He was out hunting for a woman. That is the words that the prosecutor uses in this case. He went out hunting for a woman specifically at this university. So there was a lot of good-looking women at this university, and he decided, I'm going to go hunt for a woman. The problem is Laken happened to cross his path at the wrong time, wrong day, wrong moment. She's the one he chose. He went out hunting for a woman. This woman is fighting him. And in the process of fighting this man, she's able to get on her phone and hit that emergency button to try and get help. Laken is a warrior, and she should be remembered as such. Let's keep going.
And she, in fact, does call 911. Her call is connected to ACCPD. At 9:12, you'll hear that the call was hung up, and I'm going to play the call for you. At 9:12, the call was hung up by the caller, not the 911 center. The 911 center did not hang up on Laken Riley. The phone hung up. And at 9:12, they tried to call her back, and there was no answer. This is an enhanced version of the 911 call, and there will be several stipulations between the parties in this case. We will execute a waiver of them as they come in. One of the stipulations was that this 911 call was sent to the FBI in Quantico, where they attempted to enhance the call. And this is a 1 minute and 8 second call.
All right, they're about to play it real quick. I'm just stopping just so you guys could please hit that like button. I got to do the PSA. Hit the like button. This is not a popular topic. It's not like Maddie. We're not going to get 1,000 people in here. You know, this is for the real true crime viewers, the people who just aren't interested in the Maddie case. This is for the people who care about true crime and care about these injustices that are happening most often against women across this country. That's why I'm doing this, okay? That's why I'm here, why I have a YouTube channel, to bring awareness to all the women specifically who are being victimized across this country. Because guess what? I get men too. I've had big cases where men have been victimized, but the vast majority of my caseload are women and girls who are being victimized. So please, you guys are here watching this right now. You are the true core audience of this show, because you're not just here for Maddie, you're here for true crime. So please hit that like button so we can get into that algorithm so that we can get to a wider audience. Please do support the channel. Let's keep going.
This is the enhanced version of that call. And I'd like the court, when listening to the call, right about 55 seconds into the call, you're going to hear a voice.
Look at this monster. I hate the monsters. Yeah, I'm sorry to stop it again. It just gets on my nerves when I look at these folks. I have to look at them all the time. I have to be on the stand looking at these guys. And they always have this aloof face. I don't know, do their attorneys, the defense attorneys, tell them have an aloof face? You know how many times I stood up on the stand and I have to look at these monsters and I know what you did. I know what you did. And they sit there with that aloof face like it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. You are a monster, an absolute bona fide monster. Let's keep going.
Hello, this is Clark County 911. Hello, Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me? Clark County 911.
Yo Tango. There is a long break in what happens next. It was.
All right, so I just looked it up. Georgia does have a death penalty, but I don't know if they're seeking a death in this case. I haven't been following the actual trial. I just read up a lot on what happened in this case, reading articles. I love to read articles, sometimes more than watching YouTube channels. I'm going to go ahead and then queue up the next video we're going to do, which is basically the body-worn camera of the officer rolling up on the scene, where it looked like, I watched like the first 10 seconds of it, and it looked like there was an officer that was already there that had him detained or something to that effect. But I didn't watch this in its entirety, so I don't know what's going to be said, what's going to happen. So we're going to watch it pretty much together. Thank you once again for everybody who's coming and joining me. Make sure you hit that like button. And yeah, wow, this is very, very sad stuff here, guys. Let's keep it going. All right, let's do it and bring you guys in on this now.
So since 177, the very first video that we're playing, is on mute, tell the court what we're looking at here.
I'm arriving on scene initially. I'm about to meet with Sergeant Tim Johnson, Matthews Park County Police Department.
That individual we see in the frame at 1337, who's that?
That is Sergeant Tim Johnson. I can't remember the name of the other officer in the background, and that is Diego in the red sweatshirt.
Okay. This guy's Trenderagua, guys. They come to this country. Listen, even if you like a criminal in your country, right? This just shows you how screwed up human nature is. You're a criminal in your country. You had to do things, whatever. Let's have a very liberal point of view of doing it. You had to do things to survive because it was poor, so you had to steal and stuff like that. I think morally there's no justification for that, but some people will disagree. Some people will excuse folks for engaging in criminality when they're desperate and poor. I get it, right? You now come to this country. Why not start new? You got a clean slate. Do you guys understand what these folks do? I'm going to tell you what these folks do. I'm going to give you inside information on what these folks do. When they come across the border, they throw away their passports and their country identifications. They throw it away. Then, when they're getting processed, they make names and date of births up. I'm telling you, this is what happened. All right, I'm not some rando dude on the internet. You guys know what I do. You guys know the information that might come to me that may not come to you or your favorite YouTuber. This is what happens. It's not classified information. It's just information that's not covered. So now our federal government doesn't really know who these folks are. In most instances, we will take DNA if they come with kids to see if the kids are actually related to them. Because of the whole separating family thing and trafficking, a lot of trafficking was happening. So we like to make sure that these are actually parents that we're releasing these kids to. And two, we'll take fingerprints and pictures. We will then, and this is why most of the crime that's coming that we hear happening is from people from Venezuela. It's not Venezuelan people are bad people. It's not like they're bad people. It's bad people will flow in the path of least resistance. So when we contact Venezuela, when we contact Nicaragua, when we contact Panama, when we contact Brazil, when we contact Ukraine, when we contact Africa, parts of Africa, when we contact Haiti, and we say, who is this person? Those countries respond back and said, we know this person to be X, Y, and Z. This is who they are. This is where they lived when they were here. And this is their criminal record if one exists. Because we put so much sanctions on Venezuela, when we contact Venezuela and we say, who is this person? Here's their picture, here's their fingerprints, here's their DNA. Who are they? You know what Venezuela says, ladies and gentlemen? They say, go kick rocks. We're not telling you anything. We don't like you. You're one of the reasons why we're suffering over here. Whatever the reason is, they blame us. It is what it is. Maybe it's our fault, maybe it's not. But they blame us. Hey, we're not cooperating. So the folks from Venezuela, whether the good people or the bad people, we don't know who they are. Of course, the good people, they don't have nothing to hide, so the majority of them will tell you who they are. They'll have their documentation, etc. But especially the bad people, we don't know who they are. Even if they gave us their documentation and said, here's my Venezuelan driver's license, here's my birth certificate, here's my passport. Even if they did that, we have no way of contacting Venezuela and getting verification on who this person is. So that's why all those Tren de Aragua guys are coming into the United States, like Ibarra, who are cold-blooded murderers, killers, and rapists. Because those folks know that we can't verify who they are to immediately expel them. Because if you come here with a criminal record, you can't get asylum. You can't get none of that stuff. You get sent back. Now, I just want to say clearly, not every single migrant, asylum seeker is a criminal. I am not saying that. I'm also not taking a position on whether people should be deported or stay. I'm not taking a position on any of that stuff. This is literally an apolitical conversation. The only thing that's semblance of a political conversation is the fact we're talking about immigration, which is a political topic. But it's also a social topic. It's also a law and order topic. And it's also a topic that affected Laken Riley, because if this guy was not in the United States, she would still be alive to this day. Maybe she would have graduated. Maybe she'd be in a hospital near you, helping you through an illness, an injury, or a tragedy. Maybe. We don't know. We'll never know, because Laken is dead. I'm not taking a position on what should happen with folks who are here in this country. I'm simply telling you the facts of how these bad guys get into this country and how they're allowed to stay and how they have a second chance to do something good with their life in this beautiful country. But when you're an evil person and you're a bad person, it doesn't matter how many chances you get. You're always going to revert back to who you really are, which is a piece of ish. This guy was a piece of ish before he came to America. He was a piece of ish in Venezuela, and when he landed on this beautiful soil of the United States of America, guess what? He still was a piece of ish, and now he's sitting in a courtroom, probably never going to go back to Venezuela. He'll never go. You wanted to stay in America? Well, you're going to stay, buddy. You're going to stay for the rest of your life in a jail cell. Let's keep going.
And what apartment number is Diego standing out front of?
D126.
Does Sergeant Johnson show you an image at some point in this encounter with him?
Yes, right now. He's showing me a still frame image from video that they had recovered that I didn't have at that time.
And that still frame image, do we see it in your screen at 1337?
Yes, ma'am, on the phone.
And was that an image taken from a dumpster nearby?
Yes.
So he shows you that image, and then what do you do?
This is news to me. I was coming on shift roughly maybe an hour before this. So I relayed that to my superiors who were about to pull up, coincidentally, and then explained to them that, hey, they've got footage. At that time, I was not aware that they had already been aware of that footage.
The footage that was shown to you by Sergeant Johnson, what, if anything, was significant about it to you, and then what you were observing for yourself on Diego Ibarra?
At first, videoing it or reviewing the video, the still frame photo, Sergeant Johnson informs me that the image.
I don't want to skip through. I want to see like Ibarra. You guys go watch this on your own. I want to see Ibarra's like mannerisms and see them talking to him. Let's go.
Within 24 hours of the murder, he was walking back towards the general direction of campus, which was concerning as well. He somewhat matched the description of the male seen in that photo, discarding of what I later learned was evidence found in that dumpster.
And specific what evidence?
A sweater or a pullover of some sort with blood on it and hair.
Okay. And did you ever see that evidence, or you were just informed of that?
No, it was picked up throughout the middle of the night. I was there all day the day before. They sent me home to get a sleep cycle, and I was the supervisor this day.
All right.
So I never saw the evidence till that night.
All right, go ahead.
And
what
then
about the proximity from the dumpster to Laken Riley's body?
The dumpster to Laken Ride's body, probably rough estimate 500 yards.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So at some point, when you're with Diego Ibarra and you decide to get the search warrant, first of all, how do you communicate that to get the search warrant?
I go and talk to my superiors and I ask them, because they're maybe 20, 30 yards away in the park.
I thought they was actually going to play the video. I mean, they're just literally walking through testimony. I thought this was like, oh, we're playing the video of him walking through and all that stuff.
Him and was identifying him.
Given a fake ID, tell us a little bit of that process.
I didn't obtain it myself. It was provided to Sergeant Johnson when he located him and was identifying him. Sergeant Johnson provided it to me and stated, if you look at it, there's two different dates of birth listed. There was one vertically on the side and then one listed with the rest of his identification.
Bro, you couldn't even get a good fake ID. Like, come on.
So did you agree with Sergeant Johnson?
So somebody said, well, strategic inside of the chat, it happens, on both sides. I guess what they were saying is like it happens that Americans do the same thing. Listen, like I said, I'm not trying to get political. I have my own political beliefs. Nobody cares, okay? So when I come here, I just try and pretty much tell you middle road, how these things work, and use common sense. Because sometimes there's common sense things that may align with one side more than the other. Common sense in a certain situation might align with a liberal point of view. Common sense in another situation might align with a conservative point of view. Sometimes you could be middle road, but there is right and wrong, and you have to accept what's right and wrong. And so I'll just say this, right? Everybody's capable of evil. That's a fact. But there's a difference between when you're dealing with, we'll just keep it, let me not even be abstract. Let's just talk about crime. There's a difference when you're dealing with crime from somebody who is in your community, somebody who is a fellow citizen, and it's another when you're dealing with it from somebody who technically, not all, because there are people who are here who have credible claims for asylum and stuff like that. And I'm not in the camp of kick everybody out. That's not me. Don't put that on me. Just because I may not say exactly what you guys want to hear, I'm not saying that. I'm not here saying throw them all away. That's crazy. Not at all. Okay? But there's a difference between dealing with crime from somebody that is a part of your community. There's another with dealing with crime from somebody who's technically not supposed to be here. Okay, it is what it is. All right. There's a difference between when you are dealing with somebody who grew up with your values, who grew up, with your culture, etc., and when you're dealing with somebody that you can't relate to. That's just human nature. It may not sound good, but it's human nature. Okay, so it's one thing when a bad American does something, which happens. It's another thing when somebody where the rules say maybe should not be here does it, because then you beg to differ. You beg to think, I don't know if I could have avoided being a victim by this fellow American because this is their community and it happened in a community that we share. It's another thing when it happens to you and you say, wow, well, if the person wasn't here because rules were followed, then I probably wouldn't have been a victim of this crime. I don't know if it's just me and if I'm wrong, but it just rings different in my spirit to rationalize one situation where I feel like it was inevitable and there's nothing I could have did to change it versus a situation where there's a possibility where I could have avoided being a victim if somebody would have done their job. That's just my way of rationalize it. Maybe I'm wrong. Who am I? I'm just a guy with the mic. I'm not necessarily right about everything. And you should take everything I say with a grain of salt because I am just the same adult and human as you. Everybody got to live their life according to their own drum of their own beat and the toot of their own horn. All right, I'm just telling you guys my opinion on YouTube. What is that worth? Not much. But anyway, let's keep going. I just dropped my my mouse.
His assessment that this was not a valid form of government identification.
Correct. Yes.
I'm gonna go to, I'm still muted. About 1358 on States Exhibit 177. What are we looking at here now at 1358?
I believe at this point, my captain, Seth Robinson, was interested in seeing his hands.
And does he show you his hands?
Yes. So Captain Robinson, I believe, asked Officer Bridges to relay to him to please, show us your hands, and he complied. Put his hands out.
And did you see his hands?
I did.
Did you see any injuries to his hands?
No.
Why don't they just tell him to stand up and search him? I don't understand this sit down thing. They're kind of like stripping him. I mean,
At 1359, what are we seeing, Diego?
it's kind of like bad practice. Like, if you want to search him, just stand him up and give a good search instead of having him strip while he's sitting. He can still have a weapon on him that you can't see, but let's keep
Or I
going.
do.
He was asked about, I believe they were asking this, if he could take his jacket off, and they were looking at tattoos as well as trying to make observations of any other potential injuries.
And go ahead.
And he takes his jacket off and becomes, I don't know exactly what he says, starts kind of ranting a little bit, and pulls his shirt up and shows us his stomach and his side tattoo.
And do you see any injuries on his stomach?
From my vantage point, no, I did not.
And if you had seen any injuries, would you have documented them?
Yes.
So may we toggle over, Your Honor?
All right, big shout out to Lady Jane, who's now a Strategic Eyes recruit. Thank you for joining. MMK wanted to know if I saw the super chat. I did not. I'll go ahead and look for it. Just let me know what video, and I'll go ahead and try and pull it up. And definitely thank you on that super chat for showing love. If it was during a live, then thank you so much, MMK. MM Claire, excuse me. We do a really good job acknowledging super chats. I'm a big fan of YouTube. So I'm on a lot of other YouTube channels, especially bigger channels. And, I got to say, sometimes I watch some of the biggest YouTubers miss $100 super chats, $200 super chats. We do not let that happen here. From whether it's $1 to $100, we make sure we shout people out. But there's always going to be those very rare times that we're going to miss one. And I do apologize for that. And I'll always try my best to make up for it. So we want to thank you now, MM Claire, for the super chat that you sent before. And we'll make sure that we try to make this a rare thing that we miss out when somebody is showing us some love. I also see that MM Claire has become a patrol member of the Strategic Eyes show. So thank you for the super chat that you sent in the past. And thank you for becoming a patrol member on the Strategic Eyes show now. You are amazing, MM Claire. And let's keep going, man.
States 178, what are we looking at there?
That is a picture of Diego.
And do we see the hat he's wearing in this image?
Yes.
Is that the black Adidas hat that you've already described?
Yes, ma'am.
States 179. Well, who is that?
That's Diego.
Okay, and on his face, does he have any tattoos?
He does. He has a teardrop tattoo.
So we know what teardrops mean, right? This is how I show you how broken the system is. And this is a system that's broken for decades, right? This is not a right-left issue. This is an American political government issue, okay? You can't blame this on Biden. You can't blame it on Trump. You can't blame it on nobody. In fact, the only person who probably did a good job on immigration was Barack Obama, to be honest with you. You want to talk politics? Let's talk politics. People want to blame Biden. People want to blame Trump and all this stuff and wall stuff and all this stuff. None of y'all know what the hell y'all talking about. The only person who was actually good on immigration in this country was Barack Obama. And the only person who was ever truly empathetic towards immigrants in the history that I know of was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan gave mass amnesty to immigrants in the country. I think he legalized 2 to 5 million people. I was really young, so don't quote me on a number. I know it's millions. It's between, my mind is telling me 2 to 5 million people Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to. And Barack Obama came up with the DACA program that allowed children of immigrants who had their children brought their children over very young, and all the children know is the United States of America. They speak perfect English. They've gone to American schools, colleges, the whole nine. He gave them DACA to protect them from being deported, but Barack Obama was also the deporter in chief. He deported more people than anybody else in recent history, Barack Obama. So if you really want to talk about, he actually deported more people who shouldn't be in this country and actually gave protection to people who should get out empathy and be in this country. So really, if you really want to be nonpartisan, if you really want to be factual, the most influential president on immigration was Barack Obama, not Donald Trump, not even Joe Biden. Barack Obama. But let's keep going. And the reason why I said that, this guy's got a teardrop on his eye. And we know what a teardrop means. A teardrop means you're a murderer. He has a teardrop on his eye. And we let him in this country. We now know that he is Trende Aragua. He is a bona fide gang member. If we would have looked at his tattoos, we would have known he was Trende. We didn't even need to ask Venezuela who this guy was. We would know he's Trende from his tattoos, because his tattoos tell you that he's Trende Aragua, and he has a teardrop on his eye. And this is not South Central LA, Brooklyn, New York, where people get tattoos on their eyes because they think that that's cool. This is South America. You don't get that tattoo unless you earned it. If you didn't earn that tattoo, meaning you killed somebody, you can't put that on your face, because somebody's going to check you and they might end up killing you for false representing just how gangster you are. This is a bona fide gangster. We knew it when we saw him. We still let him in the country, and now Laken Riley is dead.
On his right eye, kind of off to the side there. It's a little hard to see if you zoomed in, but we identified as potential gang affiliation tattoo.
Can you point to that on
Yes.
the right side for 179? So what that image is, or that mark on his face that states 179, was that an injury?
No, it's a tattoo.
All right, thank you. States 180.
Again, it's Diego.
And do you see a tattoo on his neck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please point to that. 182.
Diego again.
Okay, does he have tattoos on the back of his neck?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please point to those? 183.
The close-up of the picture we just looked at.
And in 183, can you actually see the rest of the hat?
You can, yeah.
Okay. 184.
Rib cage tattoo. I'm not sure what the design was.
So tattoos, but did you observe any injuries?
No.
At some point while you are there, Sergeant, and approximately how long are you at this apartment?
I'm happy that, because the university police basically handled this case, I'm happy that they did a good job, because a lot of times university police departments are terrible. Like, they're trash. They don't have a lot of resources. They don't have a lot of training, because their primary mission is the safety of the students that attend the university. So a lot of times when it happens on campus, they want to take the lead, which jurisdictionally they do take the lead, but they're not equipped to know how to handle these cases. And it looks like, and I think it was a multi agency effort, but I'm happy that they did their part, and I appreciate that, because the departments in this case did a really good job on this Laken Riley investigation, and they located this bozo, and they were able to take him off of the streets. So God bless these guys. They did amazing work. I want to get us a different viewpoint. Give me a second, though.
Complex that day.
All day, from 8:32 in the morning, and I don't think I was released till probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
All right, I'm going to go back to a different section of your video. And again, it's played on mute. We are now at 1434 in the top count for the record. So that would be 9:38 a.m.
What the hell?
Am I right about that?
Yes, ma'am.
At 9:38 a.m., we see a individual in
I
a
just got a notification on my phone. There was a random stabbing spree in New York City, leaving 2 people dead. I'm just gonna find some more stuff going on, and then we'll kind of like transition into that, and I'll edit it out, make a new video for it. But definitely, the world is just going to hell, people. Just violence every minute. Like, it can. Is there a moment that you pick up your phone that you don't see violence, that you don't hear about innocent people getting killed some way, somehow? It's just very, very sad stuff. Let's keep going.
yellow shirt. Can you please point to that person, first of all? And who is that person?
That is a brother Arhenis, either Arhemis or Arhenis, Ibarra.
And how did this person appear in this video? What happened?
He, while speaking with Diego and waiting for resources and other things, he walked out with a trash bag, like a 5-gallon plastic white trash bag that you would buy at Kroger.
Was he detained as well?
Yes,
And did you photograph him that day?
we did.
And I don't need to toggle over, but states 185. Who is that?
That's Arhenis.
At some point, did you obtain consent to enter the apartment from Arhenis?
Yes,
And did you, in fact, enter the apartment?
I did.
What was your purpose of entering the apartment?
Well, he informed us that something was on the stove and that he was very adamant about going in to turn the stove off, I believe because of a fire hazard. So that was what we asked for consent to do.
And prior to going in, did you look to see if there are residents inside?
I did what we call a threshold evaluation. So I kind of peeked around from an angle because the door was already open. When Arhenis left, he left the door open. So I could kind of see what the environment.
Yo, if somebody gives you permission to go into their house, you could go in and you can't search for evidence, but you could search for your own safety. You could go, hey, police, anybody in here? You could go check the rooms real quick, just make sure that everything is safe. You know, you can't literally say, oh, I'm going to search for some evidence, because you find it's not going to be accepted in court. It's going to get thrown out because they just gave you permission to go in and turn off the stove. But you can make sure that you're safe by going in and making sure nobody's in there that could hurt you, to then turn off the stove. So I hear him. He was being a little too cautious, though, because he does have the ability to go in and do it. Now, somebody said plain view. There is plain view. So if you go in and you see a mountain of Coke on a table, yes, you can charge that. It's in plain view. They give you permission to go in their house for a purpose, but you saw that in plain view. But what I'm talking specifically for this case, where we'd be looking for clothing and sneakers and stuff like that, you can't go looking for clothing and sneakers. You could just go in and turn off that stove, but you can search the home for other people to make sure that you're safe and you're not walking into an ambush or something like that. But yeah, plain view is always something that you can take advantage of if you see a gun on the table, some drugs on the table, or something to that effect. Yeah, definitely. That was a good catch for whoever said that inside of, this is Sarah said it. All right, let's keep going.
Inside looked like, and when I didn't see any obvious threats, that's when I got closer to the doorway.
In states 177, we're now playing the second video for the record, and we're at 1442. Could you show the court where the open door is
All right.
in the frame?
He's doing his testimony. Let me bring it back to me because I want to get some more. I want to get something. Oh, this one's going to show videos of the suspect. I think this is interesting. Before the killing of Raleigh. Very sad stuff. Let's keep going. Let's bring it in here.
About something that happened before, and it is count 10 of the indictment, and it's a Peeping Tom. Shortly before 7 a.m., Jose Ibarra is seen on a trail cam, and this is a version of the trail cam, or this is the angle you'll see. And you'll see an individual, and the state will be the first to tell you this video quality is not fantastic. But there's more than just this video. You'll see an individual wearing a dark hoodie, eventually a dark hat, black gloves, and holding a styrofoam cup.
Okay.
And UGA attempted to enhance this video. GBI Cyber attempted to enhance this video. This is about as good as it gets. You can see a bag. They've studied this video 1,000 times. You'll hear the things that they saw in looking at these videos. The male is seen on the trail cam exiting the defendant's apartment complex. That's how he gets onto the trail. It's further beyond outside the scope of this exact clip. But he gets on through a path from the defendant's apartment complex to this trail that leads onto campus. And this is Rogers Road. This is UGA Village housing for graduate students. And this is a bus stop that's used by students to take the bus to get to a class. At 7:01 a.m., this individual is seen at this door that you're going to see in the bottom or the middle of your screen. That's apartment 114. And in that apartment, 114, building S, lives a graduate student. She's an Indian national. Her name is Tejaswi Sarathi, and she is here at the University of Georgia studying. This defendant is seen trying to open her door at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, look at this guy. This guy looks like he wants to commit a crime. He's in all black. He's obstructing his face a little bit with a hoodie. He's got gloves on. Listen, when the prosecutor said he went hunting for women, he looks like he's hunting for women. He's trying doors. He has no business being there. He's not a part of the campus. He is a nasty pervert, a Trende Iragua gang member who should not have been here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what your political beliefs are. Politics has no place here. This is about common sense. This man was a criminal in Venezuela, and he came to America and was a criminal here. He had no business in this country. And when he came here, and we seen those teardrops on his face and those Trende Aragua tattoos all over his body, we should have known better. We should have turned him back. Shame on all of us, because Laken Riley's blood is on all our hands. And I understand that people turned this into politics and all that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. I care about reality, and I care about common sense. Common sense is you don't let bad guys into your home. And by extension, America is all of our homes, and we have a duty to protect our home. You don't let bad guys into your home. He was a bad guy. He should have never been here. So I guess he gave up.
And there's about an hour's worth of video that was watched by UGA PD that between 7:01 a.m. and 7:57 a.m. on the 22nd day of February 2024, about 70 minutes before Laken Riley is murdered, this defendant goes to the door of apartment 114 6 times. Twice they can see on video that he attempts to open her door. And at one point, you'll see in the video where he ducks down. And that is because at some point, the student inside heard him at her door, and she approaches him at the door and says, "Excuse me." And she will testify to this court that when she said that, she's looking out her peephole, he ducks down. And you can actually see that on the video.
Wow.
And just here's a portion of her 911 call where she calls at 7:57.
And what's going on?
So she says she was in the shower and she heard her door jiggling. And she said that somebody was at her door. She says, "Excuse me." He ducks down and he tries to look through her back window and does look through her back window. This is her back window.
Look at his stupid face. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care. For real. Like, look at him. He doesn't care. It's like, he does not care. Doesn't care. It doesn't matter what your culture is, what your country is, whatever. We're human beings. We have the same facial mannerisms. It's like ingrained inside of our spirits. He does not care. He absolutely doesn't care. Big shout out to MM Claire. 199 Super Chat says, thank you for being here today. Thank you for supporting the channel. Appreciate you, MM Claire. Now, Dollyhood says, I mean, he probably wasn't processed strategic. That's not true. ICE detained him at the border, then released him on parole for further processing. That's what they said. We knew who he was. We knew he was in the country. He snuck into the country, but he got detained. Went through one of them cracks in the gate. He got detained eventually by ICE, and then they released him for further process. They didn't hold him and process him more and then say, okay, we've done all our processing and now we're going to release him under these conditions or whatever, for whatever reason. No, they released him for further processing, which means that they weren't done processing this person, but they sent him out into the wild to be our problem, to be the problem of the community, to be Laken Riley's problem. That's what really happened. Let's keep going.
This is the backside of Building S, and this is exactly how it was that morning. This is body cam footage of Officer Bridges, who's one of the officers that responded. Her blinds are open wide. They're open, not only open, but they're pulled up more than halfway. The right side is her living room. The left side window is her bedroom, wide open. Her blinds were that morning. She said that's how she kept it because it was kind of a dark place, and it was more comfortable for her to have some light in. And that's how her windows were. And she said when she turned around, she could see the person who she can't identify. We'll be the first to tell you she can't identify him. She didn't get a good look at his face. He had that hat over his face. He had a hood on. She describes the clothing, dark hat, dark jacket. Didn't get a look at his face because when she looked through the peephole, he ducked down, but she could see him peeping into her window, looking into her window.
Has anybody ever seen this before? Look over at the stenographer. I think that's the stenographer. What does she have over her mouth? What is that? It seems like it's a part of the, it doesn't look like it's something medical. It looks like it's a part of this whole setup here. Has anybody ever seen that before? I've never seen that before. Is that some kind of stenographer technology? Is she like talking into that thing or something like that? Very interesting. I don't know. I didn't mean to stop the show, but this was weird to me. It's like some alien technology. I don't know. Let's keep going. All right. So, wow. Let's see this right here.
A police officer named Zach Davis of ACCPD finds this.
Somebody said that it dictates. It's for dictation, I guess. Okay, cool. And I guess it covers your whole mouth. So maybe I would presume you're not heard talking and you're not interrupting a court while you're talking. That makes sense. All right. Thank you. With the help of the chat, I figured out the alien technology we just witnessed. Let's keep going.
Hoodie jacket. And when he looks in and sees it, it's in a recycling bin and it's standing out because it's right on top. And he noticed it had long, dark hair on it, wrapped around one of the buttons, and he could see blood. And he thought that was suspicious. So he calls UGA PD. They respond at 9 o'clock on the day of Laken's murder. They collect the jacket found in the dumpster and they send it immediately to the GBI Crime Lab indicator for testing. But while they're there, they notice, they look around and see that one of the residents in this apartment in B32 had what's called a UV camera, which is like a ring camera but looks a little different, had a camera aimed at that dumpster. And so they asked the resident that night, hey, can we come in? Can we see your camera? He agreed to let them see it. And this is what they saw. At 9:44 in the morning, about 15 minutes after Laken Riley's heart stopped, this is what they see.
Look at this monster. Look at this beast. He's shaking his hips while he's walking. Look at this guy. He's trash. I'm sorry. That's my toxic masculinity talking. I'm sorry. Mm. Stupido. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Like, there's always, who said that? Somebody says there's always a dumpster. This is Sarah said it. Dude, you were better off just throwing it in the woods. Like you were better off just like literally just throwing it in the woods, throwing it in a sewer or something like that. Like they always do the dumpster. Like you're so stupid. Then you put it in a recycling dumpster that probably gets picked up like every 3 weeks. Look how big that recycling dumpster is, and it's got like 4 bottles in it. Like that's not getting picked up every other day like the regular trash. That's getting picked up like every 3 weeks because it takes 1,000 years for it to get filled up. You can only put bottles in it. Instead of throwing it in the regular trash, which would be a dumb idea as well, but at least there's a possibility it would get picked up in a day or two, he throws it in recycling. Why not just throw it in the woods, bro? Why not go up to a bum and just give it to them? Excuse me, people hate when I say bum. I'm sorry, I'm from New York. And then some people say, I'm from New York and I don't talk like, well, you ain't from the part of New York I'm from. I'm pretty sure you're not from the part of New York I'm from. But anyway, there's so many other ways to dispose of stuff. They always choose the path of least resistance, which is the way that they're going to get caught the majority of the time. Anyway, let's keep going. Let it play out.
So they saw an individual they did not know who it was at the time, dump the jacket in the dumpster and go to those bushes there and dump something there.
Yeah. Wow. All right. This is crazy. Let me see if there's one more I got for you. I don't have to get mommy's saying for me to get my son. That's like not till another hour. So I do have a little time to spend with you beautiful people. Let's see what we got here. I wonder if this guy will end up trying to take the stand. Long Crime is streaming it live right now.
Which method of SOS 911 calling she used?
So from what we have seen and been able to determine, it appears that the dial pad was used.
Wow.
And I want to talk to you about her heart rate continuation. So
Okay.
I'm going to show you.
This is interesting stuff here.
Back to States Exhibit.
This is live right here. This is live.
Can you tell us the top graph? What does that depict?
So the top graph in red is the heart rate data, and that's from the time 9:03:42, which also coincided with the beginning of the tracked activity being the run, and it runs to 9:33:59. And again, this is February 2nd, 2024.
When did her heart rate drop to 0?
So it went to 0 at 9:28 and 23 seconds.
And did it remain
I'm
0?
sorry, I'm not laughing at her heart rate going to 0 is ill timing. Somebody said in the chat that when we were talking about Ibarra walking away from the dumpster, that was Stephen Stern's moonwalking to the dumpster. Y'all are terrible, man. The chat is terrible. Let's keep going. I'm sorry.
And I want to show you 272. Tell us what we're looking at 272.
So 272 is the heart rate from that same beginning time, 9:03 and 42 seconds. And it's tracking all the way to 12:59 and 59 seconds, February 22nd, 24.
And at some point, we see the 0 at 9:28, like you told us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see what looks like her heart rate going back up at 12:37.
Yes.
What
So
does that coincide with the CPR?
that coincides with CPR and is tracked based on the body cam footage from our officer arriving on scene.
So if you look at Officer Maxwell's body cam footage, which we've already looked at,
Correct.
at 12:37 p.m., he attempts CPR, Miss Riley, is that
That's
right?
correct.
And that caused, you were able to see that in the Garmin watch.
Yes.
Between the 9:28 a.m. and when Officer Maxwell shows up at the scene, is there any movement in her heart rate?
No.
It remains 0.
Correct.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Good afternoon. I really just have a couple questions to clarify something. We spoke on the phone a few weeks ago, right? Just for the court report, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Thanks. And I thought you told me then that you thought that the 911 call had been placed not through the keypad, but through the.
Correct. So in further analysis, finally following up with some forensic consultant solutions with Magnet Forensics, where we use our analysis software, we were able to find some more detailed information in it's called a P list, which is just a stored data.
All right, a few things. Aki, if you're in the building, drop the link to join. Drop the link to join again, please. Support us because there's people who want to become members. Number two, Dollyhood wants to know: do they serve their time here in the States or are they deported? This is a thing when it comes to people who aren't legally supposed to be in the country. We end up paying as taxpayers in the long run. You have to do your entire time here before we send you back. So he's going to do, if he gets a life sentence in America, he will never go back to his home country. He'll stay in our prison system at the expense of the taxpayer until he dies. If he gets just a exorbitantly long sentence, 20, 30, 40 years, and he happens to survive, and then he gets out, then at that point, when he gets paroled, and let's say they said, okay, he's been rehabilitated, we're going to parole him. When he gets paroled, they will then immediately, as soon as he's paroled from the state prison, he will be detained by ICE. So when they're about to release him, ICE will be there to meet him. They would detain him and take him to an immigration jail, and then they would deport him back to his country. So that's the only way that he would basically go home is if he's paroled. Other than that, he'll stay in America for the rest of his life. Let's keep going.
The file that's holding all of this data. And we found the setting in there that determined that the multi-press that we were originally thinking was, that feature was actually not enabled on her phone. So then a little bit deeper analysis into what was actually loading at the time, we could see that the dial pad for the emergency call was loaded on her phone at the time that the call was being placed.
And when did you find this out?
2 weeks ago.
So obviously after I spoke to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, but okay, caught me by surprise because I'm going by the report that I guess was prepared. When did you first do your analysis?
We initially started working this initially right after, so February.
Okay. Because in that report, you indicated that at 9:10:39 seconds, the call was begun through the SOS process.
Well, the SOS application feature set was activated. The phone call did not occur until that 9:10 and 50.
But in any event, your opinion at the time was that it was not made through the keypad.
Correct.
And then I also asked you, and maybe you have more information now, but I asked you on the phone that if you could tell who disconnected the call, and you said you weren't able to tell.
Not able to tell from the device.
And I saw in your report that's kind of this second by second timeline, you indicated that at 9:11:59 seconds, ACCPD 911 center showed the call ended.
That's what I believe they said. Again, I was looking at phone data and just referencing what the ACC data center called provided, but I did not scrutinize that log at all.
Okay, and then you indicate also that so 1 second later, at 9:12:0 seconds, that Riley's phone showed the call.
Correct. The phone call, the device logged that the call ended.
All right, big shout out to Tori, who's now a White Shield member. And I just dropped the link for anybody who wants to join. I know people were asking inside of the comment section. The link is there. You can click that and you can become a Strategic Eyes member. Let's keep going.
would that not indicate that the call didn't disconnect from Riley's phone's side of it?
If the 911 center said that it ended at 9:11:59, my opinion would be that the 911 center is what disconnected first, and then the phone recognized that the call disconnected and then logged it as a disconnected call a second later.
That's all, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk to the 911 call center to ask them if they hung up on Laken Riley?
I did not.
Wouldn't that be better evidence of what happened?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Strong? Any big excuse?
Yes. Maybe approach that.
Thank you.
All right, so they're going to reset. Oh, looks. No. Everybody come to the bench. I didn't hear if they said recess or going to the bench. Look at this guy. Ibarra. Jose Ibarra. I think I've heard his name is Jose Ibarra Santana or something like that. These folks come with 4 names. That's not joking on them. This is the culture. It is what it is. With 4 names.
For media, the next witness is not to be recorded.
So that's not his
We'll
full name,
adjust that
guys.
Camera and
We get his full name.
pictures. Okay, you may call your next witness.
Because Sweet Talabani Sarah.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give in the matter of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sister.
Okay, if you could take a seat, have a seat. Scoot way up to this microphone and be sure you speak into it because I know you're soft-spoken. Madam Porter has to take down what you're saying and they have to be able to hear you over there, all right? Please state your name and spell it, your full name.
My name is Tejaswi Tamilmani Saraswati. Tejaswi. Tamilmani is Tamilmani. Saraswati Saraswathi.
Good afternoon. Are you a student?
Yes, I am a student here.
When you say here, what university are you a student at?
University of Georgia.
How long have you attended the University of Georgia?
It's been a year.
What are you studying?
I'm studying PhD in exercise physiology.
Are you a graduate student?
Yes, I am.
And how old?
I'm 24 years old.
Were you living at Building S, Apartment 114 on February 22nd, 2024?
Yes, I was.
Tell us a little bit about your apartment. Were you living there alone or with other people, and how big is your apartment?
I live in a 1-bedroom apartment and I live alone there. It's on the first floor.
And by first floor, you mean the bottom floor?
Yes,
And is it on the end or is it in the middle of the building?
it's all the way to the end.
At some time that morning, first of all, what time did you wake up?
I would say around 7.
And at some point in the morning, did you notice something unusual?
Yes, I did. I heard some fidgeting sounds on my front door.
Where were you when you heard those sounds?
I was in the shower.
Describe to the court what you actually heard.
I was in the shower and I heard somebody trying to open my door. And initially I thought it was coming from upstairs, but when I stepped out of the bathroom, I noticed that it was coming from my front door. When I went to see who it was, I saw someone through the peephole trying to open it.
Could you describe the person that you saw?
The person had a black hood, black hat, black jacket, and black gloves, but I could not see the person's face.
Why couldn't you see their face?
I think it's because of the cap. It was blocking their face.
And when you said they ducked down, what do you mean by that?
So the moment I said hello,
All right, so what I want to do is, I mean, this is playing live. You guys want to check it out, go on Long Crime. But I want to, we're kind of like getting a feel for it here. Like, I'm not really one of those guys that just like follows the trial. A lot of YouTubers do that. They're really good at it. I don't got the patience for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not sticking around on the channel and watching testimony all day long. Maybe it's because I got to sit through testimony in real life. It's like, nah, man. It's hard enough doing it when you when you the one on the stand to sit and watch it as a YouTuber. Not for me, unless it's like the trial of the century. There's some trials that you just like sit down and you got to watch every moment of it. Like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and stuff like that. You had to watch every moment of that trial. But anyway, I want to get the wife, Jose Ibarra's wife, jailhouse phone call. They played that during the trial testimony. I want to see if I get that. And from my understanding, this is from what I recall reading a while back in this case. The wife really didn't know him. They met each other along the way and they decided to get married or say that they're married in order for them to have a easier time going through the immigration process, because the rumor that they heard is that it's easier for families to get asylum and preferential treatment than for single people. So the child is actually not his child, and the wife is not really somebody that he married because he loved them. I don't know if it's even a legal marriage or if it's just what they're calling themselves, but this is what I remember reading. And so I'll definitely look it up and make sure I haven't mixed it up with another case, but I believe it to be the Ibarra situation. So she did a phone call and basically she kind of confronted him like, yo, where's the girl and why are you being accused of this? And if you're saying it's not you, why is it only your DNA that they found? So let me go ahead and see if I can find that audio. See if I can find that audio. Jose Byron. Looking for it. By the way, he's doing a bench trial, just to let you guys know. He's not going before a jury. This is a bench trial, so it's going to be only a judge that's going to determine if he is guilty. Day 2. All right. Can't seem to locate that call. I'll keep looking for it, but I'll bring us back to the live testimony. Real quick. Big shout out to Internet Girl, who's now a recruit member. Thank you so much for becoming a recruit. And big shout out to YouTube Bad Actors, who's now a patrol member of the Strategic Eye Show. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, guys. Appreciate you. All right, that's a 911 call. I'm going to just read out to you the jail call that Ibarra had with his so-called wife. Once again, I don't know if it's his legal wife, or if they just call themselves married, or if they just lied and said that they were married for immigration purposes. My understanding from the article that I'd read in the past is that the wife admitted that they had just gotten together along the way to America and decided to say that they're married. Remember, there's no way of verifying this information because Venezuela does not share information with the United States of America. So if you say you're married, there's no way for us to know that you're not really married. If you say your name is Jose Santana, there's no way that we're going to know whether your name is truly Jose Santana or not. And if you were born in 1980 or 1991 or 1963, we don't know. We have no clue. If you're a criminal in Venezuela, we have no way of determining whether that's true or false because, once again, Venezuela is not sharing information. So this is just going to read out to you real quick the jail conversation that Ibarra had with his so-called wife. Legal or not, I don't know. It says, what happened with the girl? Wife confronts Ibarra in jail phone call. A recorded jail phone call between murder suspect Jose Ibarra and his wife, Laken Franco, after his arrest in the killing of Laken Riley was played in court on Monday. FBI specialist Albicis Ramirez provided a Spanish-to-English translation of the call played in court, describing the couple picking up their previous conversation, discussing that Ibarra had gone to the University of Georgia for work before Franco began urging Ibarra to tell the truth. So at least she's holding him accountable. I respect her for that. She continues to ask him, what happened with the girl, Ramirez testifies. She tells him that he has to know something, and he just continues to tell her, Layling, enough, Layling, enough. Ramirez said Layling then said that she thinks it's crazy that they don't have anyone else's DNA. They only have his. And she says she doesn't understand how someone can see someone dying and not call 911. I know you know something, Ramirez says. She continued. Jose Ibarra could be seen looking down several times as the jail call recording between him and his wife was playing out. Wow. So even his so-called wife believes this man to be the monster that he is. Maybe part of the reason is that she really doesn't have a true affinity for him because they're not really married. So she's not sitting there like, I know my husband. He'd never do that. She knows that this guy is just as much as a stranger to me as he is a stranger to the United States. I met this guy along the yellow brick road to the border. I don't know who this guy is. We just linked up for immigration purposes. So she's not buying it. She figures the same thing we figure, that this guy had something to do with the death of Laken Riley. But let's keep going.
You should come in.
All right, I'm trying to find that call. That call was actually played today. So give me a second. You know what? We can actually find it on this one. My apologies. Gonna pause this over here. I'm like on multiple screens right now. We're gonna go backwards and see when they, because this was played today. That's why we weren't able. I think it was played during this guy's testimony here. Maybe not. Maybe he. Now he's testifying to being there at this time. So let's keep moving. Maybe it's her.
Specialist with the Region 11 GBI office.
What do you do as a crime scene specialist?
Collect evidence, process scenes, send evidence to the crime lab.
And tell the court a little bit about your training or your job.
Sure. So we participate in a GBI Special Academy, which is 13 weeks. And then on top of that, we participate in a lot of extensive training to become a crime scene specialist, which includes.
For those of you, interesting fact, for those of you who may not know, I think I said it on the show before, but I'm actually a certified crime scene technician by a New York State certified crime scene technician. I don't use it, but I was certified as a New York State crime scene technician when I worked for the state of New York as a sex crimes investigator with the Department of Corrections Community Supervision. So it's the same exact training that they give in the police force. But I got it when I was in corrections, and we used to process a lot of crime scenes. And some of the crime scenes that I processed was actually used in court because we did criminal cases as well. And my crime scenes were used in court. So pretty interesting stuff there, man. Anyway, let's keep going.
Somewhere between 40 and 50 of us. We had broken down into smaller groups to speak.
Is that an accurate sketch of the apartment?
Yeah.
So we're going through the crime scene.
You see it.
Yes.
Cool. So it wasn't her. She wouldn't be the one that would bring in that kind of evidence.
So I'm not.
It would be like a case detective that would bring in like evidence such as like audio played from like the conversation.
And how many hours did you work every day? Did you work every other day? Your bed on.
Su cama. ¿En qué pared? ¿Dónde estaba su cama?
Cuando los arrestaron.
Which day? The day before or the day that they came to arrest us?
The day before.
El día anterior.
El día anterior, bueno, me paré como a las 10, 11 de la mañana.
The day before, I woke up between 10 and 11 in the morning.
Nos pusimos a hacer, bueno, me puse a hacer comida con Argeni.
I began to cook with Argenis food.
Nos fuimos al trabajo, Argenis y mi persona.
Argenis and myself went to work.
Quedaron Diego y José Antonio quedaron en la casa.
And Diego and Jose Antonio remained at the house.
Were they awake or asleep when you woke up? Were they awake or asleep when you woke up?
¿Estaban ellos despiertos o acostados cuando?
Sí, cuando nosotros nos fuimos a trabajar, ellos estaban en la cama acostados.
Asleep, yes. When we left to work, they were in bed sleeping.
And then where was Carlito and Juan Carlos in the apartment that day?
¿Y estaba Juan Carlitos en el apartamento ese día? No.
Okay. And then what time did you return home?
¿A qué hora entonces regresaste a casa ese día?
Como a las 10 de la noche.
Around 10 p.m.
And who was there when you got home at 10 o'clock?
¿Quiénes estaban allí cuando llegaste a las 10?
Todos.
All of us.
And at what point did you learn that someone had been killed near your house?
¿Cuándo fue que te enteraste que alguien había sido asesinado cerca de la casa?
Esa noche.
That night.
And how did you, without saying what they said, how did you find out?
¿Cómo te enteraste de lo que había ocurrido?
Porque yo siempre cuando llegaba de trabajar me sentaba afuera fumando un cigarro.
Because every time I came back from work, I would sit outside to smoke a cigarette.
Y estaba un vecino del frente, un puertorriqueño.
And there was a neighbor from across, Puerto Rican.
Y vi mucho policía.
And I saw a lot of police.
Le pregunté yo a él qué estaba pasando.
So I asked him what was happening.
Y él me dijo a mí, no, hay un muerto.
And he said to me, no, there is a dead person.
We'll move on. So you, we'll move on. And so you learned that someone had been killed near your apartment.
Entonces conoció que habían asesinado a alguien cerca del apartamento. Sí.
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. So then you went to bed that night.
People like my t-shirts. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd, ladies and gentlemen. It's Pink Floyd. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Somebody asked, T. Adams asked, if found guilty, will he be deported? We spoke about that earlier. You have to do your time in America first before we deport you. We don't just deport you after we find you guilty. You owe a debt to our society. You came here, you committed a crime, you owe a debt to us, and that debt is time. So if he gets life in prison without the possibility of parole, he will never leave the United States of America. If he gets a sentence that will afford him parole or a maximum expiration date after he's done, then you send him back. You send him back after that. That's what happens. ICE detains him when he's released. Before he's even released, they'll say there's an ICE hold on him, and he'll get transported from the state jail to an ICE jail, and then they will process him, and then they'll deport him back to his country after he's done with his time. So if he's an old man, he's like 90 years old, and they decide Kim Kardashian's great-great-grandkid says that there was problems with the evidence and Jose Ibarra is actually innocent and should have never been found guilty, and they decide to let him go, well, they'll send him back to his country after they let him go because of the efforts of Kim Kardashian's great-great-grandkids. Let's keep going.
And when did you wake up the next day?
Entonces se acostó esa noche y al día siguiente, ¿a qué hora se despertó?
No, ese día yo entré y le dije a Argenis, le comenté a Argenis.
No, that day I came back in and I mentioned to Argenis
Lo que estaba pasando.
what was happening.
Argenis publicó, o sea, lo dijo en voz alta ahí en el departamento.
Argenis mentioned it in a loud voice in the apartment.
Right, you can't say what he...
Yes. Un momento, decir lo que otra persona dijo.
I'll consider that when given instruction. And he'll interpret it.
Okay, we'll clean it up. Okay, you can't say what Argenis said.
No puedes decir lo que otra persona dijo, ¿ok?
Okay, but listening to him, you knew that Argenis knew that something had happened at the apartment.
Entonces, the interpreter requires a repetition.
Listening to Argenis, you knew that something had happened at the apartment.
Entonces, escuchando de Argenis, enteraste que algo había ocurrido en el apartamento.
No.
No.
Yo fui la que le dije a Argenis.
I was the one who told Argenis.
Okay.
Y Argenis comentó en el departamento.
And Argenis mentioned it inside the apartment.
Okay, without saying what he said. But he told everyone else.
Él entonces hizo la mención a todos los demás. You know?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then what did you all do next?
¿Y qué fue lo próximo entonces que hiciste?
Me metí al baño y me acosté a dormir.
I went into the bathroom and then I slept.
Okay, was there any reaction from any of your roommates? Not what they said, but did anyone act strange or concerned when they found out that a murder had taken
¿Hubo
place?
alguna reacción sobre tus compañeros de habitación? No sobre lo que Argenis dijo, sino sobre lo que habían conocido que había ocurrido.
Okay.
No.
And what woke you up the next morning?
¿Qué fue lo que la despertó la mañana siguiente?
Oficiales.
The officers.
How did that happen?
¿Cómo ocurrió?
Entraron y dijeron que nos levantáramos todos.
They entered and they told us, for all of us, to wake up.
Primero agarraron a Argenis,
They first grabbed Argenis.
luego a Diego. No, primero a Diego, luego a Argenis.
No, first Diego, later Argenis.
Y luego entraron al departamento. José Antonio estaba dormido y mi persona también estaba.
Then they entered the apartment. Jose Antonio was asleep and I myself was too asleep.
Y a nosotros dos nos levantaron que saliéramos del departamento.
They awoken both of us, asking us to walk out of the apartment.
After a certain time, did you go down to the Clark County Police Department and
Damn.
give a statement?
Después de haber pasado cierto tiempo, terminó usted siendo llevada al departamento de la policía de Athens Clark y dio usted una declaración.
Sí.
And was
Yes.
that on February 23rd, that same day that they woke you up in your apartment?
Eso fue el mismo día, el 23 de febrero, el que vinieron al apartamento. Yes.
And did you also give a statement to Officer Sand on March 4th at
También
Julio Maldonado's apartment?
usted también le dio una declaración al oficial de la policía Sayán el 4 de marzo en el apartamento de Julio Maya.
Maldonado.
Maldonado. Sí.
And did they show you some photographs and video?
Le mostraron algunas fotografías.
I want to fast forward a little bit. I want to get to the phone call.
A Nueva York.
No, estaba en
For immigrants.
De la manera como lo he entendido es que usted
Oh, let's go back.
Was married to Jose Antonio Ibarra.
Oh. Well, listen to this. Okay, Cross, let's hear this.
Let me, some of this has been cleared up, but if you would instruct the witness that she needs to answer out loud, yes or no, not shake heads.
el juez quiere aclarar algo, ¿no? Cuando te pidan que respondas, no respondas con mover la cabeza. Siempre responde verbalmente, sí o no, siempre. Okay.
When I go pick up my son, I'm just gonna let it play out so you guys can watch the trial, and then I'll come back. We'll jump back into this.
Excuse me for that.
Good morning.
Dice, señor, buenos días. Good morning.
I want to follow up with just a few questions, please.
Quiero hacerle solo algunas pocas preguntas.
So you were asked a minute ago about when you first came to the U.S., right?
Unos minutos le preguntaron cuándo fue que vino por primera vez a los Estados Unidos, ¿correcto? ¿Sí o no? Yes.
And am I right that you came in the summer of 2023?
Es correcto decir que usted llegó en el verano del 2023.
mayo.
In May the 3rd.
Thank you. And that was, you went directly to New York City.
Y fue directamente a Nueva York.
No,
Went to
estaba
New
en
York.
El Paso.
No, in El Paso I was.
Oh, we went to El Paso.
But
Okay.
you didn't stay there long, is that what I understand?
Pero yo entiendo que no se quedó allí mucho tiempo. No,
And so the first place that you stayed for any period of time was New York City, is that right?
entonces es correcto decir que el primer lugar donde estuvo por algún periodo de tiempo fue Nueva York.
It was in the Row Hotel, baby. It was in the Row Hotel or the Stewart Hotel, the 4-star hotels in New York, man. Eating off that taxpayer's teeth. I'm sorry. Y'all gonna be mad at me after this one.
Sí.
Yes.
And then during the summer of 2023, you met first Maylene Franco, is that right?
Y durante el verano del 2023 conoció usted primero a Maylene Blanco, ¿es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Maylene's daughter is Laken Franco, correct?
Y la hija de Maylene es Leili Franco, ¿correcto?
Lailín Franco.
¿Perdón?
Lailín.
Lailín Franco.
Laylene, thank you.
Gracias.
And Laylene was married to Jose Antonio Ibarra.
Lailín está casada con José Antonio Ibarra. Yes.
And I'm just trying to establish how you met Jose Antonio. Is that-
Usted a José Antonio. Okay.
but it was first through his mother-in-law, Maylene Franco, right?
Así que primero fue a través de la suegra de él, Maylene Franco, ¿correcto? Yes.
And the way I understand it, your friend and Laylene lived in a hotel that was turned into an apartment for immigrants.
De la manera que lo he entendido es que usted y Lailín vivieron en un hotel que luego fue transformado allá como en un complejo de apartamentos. No.
Where was Laylene living at the time?
¿En dónde vivía Lady?
En el Chrome Plus.
En Crown Plaza,
Cra-
Queens.
Crown Plaza, that had been a hotel but was now an apartment. It was used to as a place for migrants to live.
El Crown Plaza. Que
Yeah,
después
just clarify. That was a migrant shelter. Somebody asked if the gentleman speaking is a witness. No, the gentleman is the translator. If you'll listen after he speaks, you'll hear a very soft woman's voice. He is translating for that woman who's speaking in Spanish. Let's keep going.
fue transformado con apartamentos usados para entonces darle vivienda a los inmigrantes que llegaron.
Sí.
Yes.
And at some point during that summer, you and Jose Antonio, well, first of all, let me interrupt. Did you call him Jose Antonio or did you call him Victor?
Entonces, en un momento, en ese verano, usted, José Antonio, discúlpeme que le interrumpa, ¿usted lo llamaba a él José Antonio o usted lo llamaba a él Víctor? Víctor.
So at some point during that summer, did you and Victor end up living in a car for a few weeks?
Durante ese verano, por algún tiempo, terminó Víctor, ustedes viviendo dentro de un carro por algunas semanas.
Sí.
Yes.
And the car was parked near the Crown Plaza.
Y el carro estaba estacionado cerca del Crown Plaza.
Sí, por frente.
Yes. Across.
Across the street.
Usando la calle.
No. La acera estaba ahí estacionada.
No.
Saliendo del Chrome.
Right by the sidewalk, the car was parked there, just walking out of the Crown.
And through Victor, you learned that his brother Diego was in Athens.
Y a través de Víctor conociste que Diego, su hermano, estaba en Athens.
Yes.
Yes.
Excuse me. And Diego had invited Victor to come to Athens to get out of New York.
Y Diego había invitado a Víctor que se viniera a Athens para salir de Nueva York.
Porque aquí había oportunidades de trabajo.
Because here there were work opportunities.
And then Victor also mentioned to you, why don't you come also?
Y también Víctor
These folks are everywhere, man. They all over. They everywhere. For real. I mean, like, they're all over. They're literally everywhere. Like, Athens, New York is like super far from New York City. Like, they're all over the country, all over the state. Like, they're just spread out. None of these people are documented. All these people are by all accounts, illegal, you know, and they're everywhere. Like, hey, there's no opportunities down in New York, even though they're paying for everything. Come up to Athens, New York. It's like, okay, you go up to Athens, New York. He gets arrested up there for child endangerment. They didn't really go into much details over it. And then it's like, okay, shoot, screw it. Let's go down to Georgia. Like, us regular folk, like, how many of you guys have bounced around the country like that? Like, I can't afford to just bounce around the country. Like, I can't just say, like, I'm out of here. Like, I have obligations. I have a home. I have my family. I have so much going on. I have my career. Like, I just can't leave and just go somewhere else. Like, how are these folks just, like, bouncing around everywhere? Unless, of course, they have a support structure, a social safety net that the rest of us aren't privy to, that we don't have access to, you know, because it's just amazing to me how this guy, they start out in El Paso. From El Paso, they go to New York. From New York, they go to Athens, New York. From Athens, New York, I assume they go down to Georgia, but there might have been a stop in between Athens and Georgia. I don't know. Maybe they'll talk about it right now, but that's why they're just bouncing around everywhere.
lo mencionó a ti para que también diciéndote, ven también tú.
Sí.
Yes.
And so that's how the two of you ended up flying down to Atlanta and then getting a ride over to Athens.
Flying down to Atlanta? I guess it's not Athens, New York. There's Athens, New York. It's Athens, Georgia. So he said, come on down to Athens, Georgia. There's opportunities down here. So, but flying, like, geez Louise. I wanted to take a little trip and I was like, man, I'm broke. I can't afford the plane ticket. And I'm a working man and I make money. I'm out here working my butt off. And I'm like, yo, I can't afford that plane ticket. I'm good. I'll save up for it and go sometime next year. And they just hopping on the plane like, yo, we out of here. We go. They're sleeping in a car. Did you guys hear that, right? They're sleeping in a car outside of the hotel. And the only reason why they would be in that car is if they did something to get kicked out those hotels. Because those hotels, they don't put you on the street. They just cycle you around. Like there's this thing in New York where they say after 30 days you get kicked out, you have to reapply. That's not what happens. That's all politics to make you think that they got a process of kind of moving people out of the shelter system. No. When your 30 days is about to happen, they already have started you with the paperwork to reapply to get in, and then they just bus you to a different hotel. So they're just cycling them to different hotels in New York City. Nobody's being put on the street. The only time you get put on the street is if you break the rules in the hotel. You assault staff, you bringing in contraband, you bringing in weapons, you got hot plates in your room, and they tell you no hot plates because it's a fire hazard, and and they give you a first, a second, and a third warning. Here comes the fourth one. It's all right. You're a danger to this hotel. We got to get you out of here. They don't just put you on the street. Migrants don't get put on the streets, ladies and gentlemen. So the fact that they're sleeping inside of the car is because they did something wrong to get kicked out of that hotel. Or they sent them to a shelter that they didn't want to be in, so they said, I'd rather sleep in the car rather than be in the shelter. That's the only reason. Now, they're sleeping in a car, but they got money to hop on a plane to fly to Georgia. Wow, man, listen. The world is topsy-turvy, people. What's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. I don't know what's happening out here. But these people are making moves. Let's keep going.
Así que así fue como entonces terminaron volando a Atlanta y de Atlanta consiguieron una carretita hasta. Yes.
At that time in D126, it was just Diego there at the time.
Y en aquel momento, para interpreter requires a repetition, you mentioned it again.
It was only Diego who was living in the apartment when you first arrived?
Diego, entonces era la única persona que vivía en ese apartamento cuando llegaste allá.
Sí.
Yes.
Argenis was living in Florida?
Argenis estaba viviendo en Florida.
Yes.
Yes.
How was your English?
¿Cómo era tu inglés?
Muy poco.
Very little.
So that you got a job at Wendy's at first?
¿Y tu primer trabajo te lo dieron en Wendy's?
Yes.
Yes.
And Victor also?
¿Y Víctor también?
Yes.
Yes.
Argenis came maybe in October, September, October?
Argenis se vino como en octubre, septiembre, octubre.
Noviembre.
November.
Argenis, the three of you got the job, Korean restaurant?
Y los tres de ustedes consiguieron trabajar en el restaurante coreano.
Yes.
Yes.
Was the name of it Utachi?
El nombre Utachi.
En realidad no recuerdo el nombre.
In reality, I don't remember the name.
Queda aquí atrás.
It's right behind here.
And you didn't use any gloves when you worked there, did you?
¿Tú no utilizabas guantes cuando trabajaste allí?
No.
No.
And then it was a little bit later after Argenis came to live in D126. John Carlos came.
Un poquito después de que Argenis llegó a vivir en el apartamento de 126, llegó entonces Giancarlos.
No, primero llegó Giancarlitos.
No, Giancarlitos first arrived.
Después bajó Argenis de Florida.
After.
I want to
No
get this.
objection.
No hay ninguna objeción. Ok, eso es todo. Entonces puedes salir.
Gracias.
You're welcome.
Streets Gang Task Force. That's a task force comprised of several
this
different
is good.
agencies, FBI, obviously, as well as the GBI, the Athens Clarke County Police Department, the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, and the Georgia Department of Corrections. As a member of that task force, our primary mission is to focus on investigations that involve violent criminal activity or violent gang activity or major organized crime investigations. So as a part of that, we oftentimes assist our state and local law enforcement partners with investigations such as this that involve violent crime or a murder or armed robbery or something of that nature.
When and how did you get involved into the investigation into the murder of Laken?
I got involved on the day that it occurred on February 22nd, 2024. I was actually contacted by another member of our task force, who's a sergeant with the Athens Clarke County Police Department. When the incident happened, I was actually in Atlanta dealing with another matter, and I was informed by Sergeant Frost, who's on our task force, that he was involved and had responded to the murder of a college student that had occurred on the University of Georgia campus, and advised that he would be meeting with other law enforcement partners to obtain information to see if there was any assistance our task force could provide.
Did you at some point provide assistance to the local authorities in this case? And specifically, what was the focus?
Yeah, so initially,
Big shout out to Moni with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Moni. Appreciate you.
on February 22nd, there were no suspects when the incident occurred. So at that time, we took the role of helping out with some cell phone analysis. We did with a team that's computer analysis.
266. So 266 will contain only the data and information from the phones that the state wishes the fact finder to consider.
It's item 1B7, which is a summary of the Motorola cell phone collected from Diego Ibarra on February 23rd.
How many names does this guy have? Diego Ibarra? Which one? Who is that? I thought his name was Jose Ibarra. What's going on here?
Located on his phone can be considered statements of the defendant.
Well, he's posting them, so he's adopting them. So yes, these are statements or posts done by this defendant hours before the murder that go directly to his state of mind. And so it's an adoptive admission because he's adopted them and posting them.
I think you'll be able to argue that. So I'm going to overrule the objection. Matter related to translation.
I'm going to approach again with a bunch of the documents that you
I
mentioned.
think Diego's his brother. Yeah, Diego's his brother. Diego's the one that said, "Hey, come on down here. We got jobs down here, buddy. Come on, brother." So Diego Ibarra is his brother, and Jose Ibarra is. We know who Jose is. I was just trying to figure out who the hell Diego is. But anyway, let's go.
And states 266. And now that 266 is in, I'm going to take that back. And we're going to publish 266 on the Elmo, Your Honor, if you could toggle over, do PowerPoint slides one at a time. But before we get into the publication of 266, so states 248 through 259. Let's start with those.
Hold on here. Foxy talking about men with soft hands. I have soft hands. Because my line of work is not construction where I'm holding things. Now, I have calloused knuckles. Because sometimes you got to get rough with the criminals. So what would you rather have? A soft hand man like me? Or some rough guy who plays with bricks all day? Either way, I'm bringing home the bacon and I can protect you. Anyway, let's keep going. Don't be hating on those soft hand guys, Foxy.
Look at those for us. You recognize those items?
Yes, I do.
And in general terms, what are they?
They're business records. Respective, so, cell phone or social media providers and records.
And for the record, Your Honor, the state did file 2 different pretrial notices of our intent to rely upon certain business records. Those business records, those are the certifications of those records. The state provided pretrial notice on not all of them, but the ones that are at least contained within States 266, which is Special Agent Hicks' report. So we would move to admit the certifications. Everything in these records would be
Provided by the.
All right, this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna get current. I'm gonna put us current. Oh shoot, they on break. Why they on break for? We'll go back a little bit. Play this from here, from this dude right here. I mean, this young lady. And then I gotta go get my son. And when I come back, we're gonna keep doing this together. Yeah, that sounds fun. I got nothing else to do. Anyway, I might actually do a live tonight as well. I want to do part 3 of the document review on the Maddie's case. I told you guys I want to finish that. It's just so much to read. The narrative by Morris. So we might come back tonight and do part 3 of that one. Hopefully you can finish in part 3. Then if not, it'll be a part 4. It is what it is. Whoever wants to watch it, watch it. Whoever doesn't, it's all good. But I said I want to finish it, so I'm going to finish it. So we might come back tonight. If you guys are free, come join me. If not, it's all good. You catch me when you can. But I'm going to let this play out as I go and get my son. I got like maybe 2 more minutes, and I'm going to head over to pick him up. Somebody said what time? I don't know. It'll probably be late, like around 11, like 10:30, 11. I just want to wait till my son is asleep. And once my son is asleep, then I'll come on and do it. He usually goes to bed like around 9:30. So between 9:45 and 10:45 is when I'll do the live. It'll be a pop-up live, so there won't be much notice. But between 9:45 and 10:45 is when we'll do the Maddie live, where we'll talk about the part 3 for the investigative narrative.
You swear from the testimony you will give in the matter of the state of Georgia versus the day of bar with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. Okay, so have a seat, please, and adjust the microphone and speak into it.
Oh, I'm also going to do a show on the Blue Origin project manager. Blue Origin is the company by Jeff Bezos that's like competing with SpaceX, who killed her father over the election results. She killed her father over the election results. She hacked him up with an ice axe. I don't even know what an ice axe is. Oh, I know what it is. It's those super sharp ones that they use in Antarctica. Wow, she chopped the dad up over the fact that Trump won and Kamala lost. Crazy. Unbelievable. We're going to talk about that one too. Too many shows to talk about. That one's probably going to be just for members, and then I'll release for everybody. So I'll do a live on that one, or pre-produce. We'll see what happens. And then I'll release it for everybody else. But we're going to definitely do that Maddie live tonight. I want to get a lot of shows done today because I might be busy come next week. This is my son's birthday week, so I might be a little bit busy. We'll see. If I can fit in shows, I will. If I can't, I can't. But I want to drop a lot of shows today just so you guys can have something to watch, just in case I'm busy for a couple of days. All right, let's keep going.
Spell your first and last name, please.
First name is Sally, Sally. Last name is Kirkleski, Kirklewi.
And ma'am, what do you do for a living?
Second, please.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a staff level researcher in public health research.
Are you a runner?
I am.
And how often do you run?
6 to 7 days a week.
How far do you run when you run?
Anywhere from 4 miles to 20, depending on what I'm training for.
Are you familiar with the trails behind the intramural fields in the University of Georgia called the Oconee Forest and those running trails back there?
I am familiar with them.
How are you familiar with those trails?
I run and walk there frequently.
How many times would you estimate you have ran and walked those trails?
I would say well over 1,000 at this point since I've been in Athens.
I want to direct your attention to the 22nd day of February, 2024, where you
I was just on mute. I'm happy I was on mute because you didn't hear what I just said. Let's keep going.
were running that morning.
I was.
First of all, what part of town were you living in, and how did you get to the fields? Did you drive? Did you run? Did you walk?
I was living off of South Mill Lake Avenue, and I ran there.
You ran there. About what time did you leave your house?
Around 8:04 in the morning.
And about what time did you make your way onto the running trails?
I would say I got to the trails just after 8:20 a.m.
Were you wearing any kind of...
All right, I got to go. So I'm going to play it and let you guys listen to it. This is Sarah said that she wrote a blog about the phenomenon of election trauma. I'd love to read that. It sounds very fascinating. I'd love to read it. So please go ahead and email me the link to that blog, or copy and paste the actual substance of the article and just paste it inside of the email, and I'll take a look at it. Whatever you want to do. But I am definitely interested in reading that. I'm interested in stuff like that. I wish the internet was a safe place that we could talk politics as adults without it divulging into hate and anger and animosity. But unfortunately, YouTube is not that place. I've tried that. And it was a resounding failure. And all it did was become more divisive than helpful. So this is not a place for it. But if anybody reaches out to me and wants to talk to me about these things, I'm always willing to have conversations about it in the back end. But it's just not a place for it in the real world. Not in the real world, but in YouTube, IRL, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, so let me see if we're still rocking and rolling, if they're still on break. It looks like they're still on break. So, I'm just ending the live here. If they're on break, then I'm not going to just play the thing out and just have you guys sitting here looking at a poster. We're not going to do that. So anyway, I'll come back on later. I just wanted you guys to get a little piece of the case. It was very interesting. And I want this guy to be found guilty. He is a monster of epic proportions. And I'm very sad for Laken Riley and her family. She deserved better than that. She was the pillar of her community. She was going into a field that would have benefited us all. It would have benefited everybody in the human race, regardless of what your political status is or your citizen status is. It doesn't matter. Doctors don't ask whether you're a citizen or not. They just treat you. They just help you. And it's so unfortunate that she had to die the way that she died. And I hope that she gets justice. And I'm going to keep following this. And I appreciate you guys for joining me today. It was really fun hanging out with you. Please make sure that you hit that like button. You support the channel. And it was a little bit different than a lot of other shows you guys watch when they do court watch. Kind of bounced around, went backwards, went forwards. We're just looking for interesting parts of the trial. We're not just going to sit there and watch it through. There is a place for that. It's just not really here. It's not my style. I just can't sit here and just listen to the trial all the way through. I got to like bounce around trying to find things and just make it very interactive. That's my style. So we'll do this more often when we have time. We don't really have a lot of time, but when we do have time, we'll do these things. But in the meantime, look out for the live I'm going to do tonight when I talk about Maddie, the part 3 of the narrative. So I look forward to bringing that to you guys. And look out for the show that I'm going to do on the unfortunate murder of this woman's father. This woman went crazy over the election, and she killed her dad because her candidate lost. All right. And her actions is not indicative of anybody for their political beliefs. This is somebody who made a choice, a decision, and they did this to their loved one. And it does not mean that everybody who voted for Kamala or Trump or whatever is going to do these things. This is localized to this one situation. But at the end of the day, that is the reason why she killed her father. She killed her father over the election, and it's very shameful, and it's very troubling, and it's very sad, and we're going to talk about it. So 2 new shows that I'm going to be bringing to you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Guys, please check out the videos that I've been dropping. I've been dropping videos other than Maddie in reference to other horrible murders that's happened. The most recent one I just dropped was a father who was killed by police when he was trying to restrain a burglar who had a knife. The cops chose the wrong person and shot the good guy. That's a very interesting story. It was very well put together, and it needs exposure because there's a 15-year-old girl who does not have a father anymore who's fighting for justice. And listen, as a police officer, I'm telling you guys that was a bad shoot. Do I think the cops should be sent to jail? I'm not saying that. I don't know, because it obviously was a mistake. He did not leave his house that morning looking to kill an innocent civilian, but this needs exposure because that family needs justice. So if they determine that it was a shoot that was an accident and that the cop shouldn't go to jail, so be it. But if they determine that the cop needs to face criminal charges, then so be that too. That family needs awareness, ladies and gentlemen. Family needs awareness. So please do watch that video, learn from it, and help bring awareness, okay? Support the channel, guys. Support the videos that we drop so we can stick around, okay? All right, see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here.